We want to take a look here at the markets here right now. Dow up 131 points. We saw session highs just a little bit ago as the president was talking about the ruling here. But I want to get some more market reaction and a little bit more on this big Supreme Court ruling that came down today. I want to bring in our next guest to help break it all down from the Wall Street Journal, David Uberti. Great to have you on, David. And what a day this was. Really what a week it was for the market. A lot of uncertainty about what was going on maybe in the Middle East with tensions. Is there going to be some reaction maybe this weekend? And then Friday, the Supreme Court decided, let's release the decision on tariffs.
It definitely has been a whirlwind week. The geopolitical risk in the oil market has been progressing higher recently. But with tariffs, it has been sort of an interesting reaction from the markets. Many of the folks that we're hearing from on Wall Street don't quite know what to make of this development. You've mentioned how stocks have been trending higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is ticked upward. But even within tech stocks, those are trading higher as well. But the most aggressive reaction that we've seen has come from the transportation sector. So these are logistics companies, rail operators, freight and trucking companies. These are the actual people who move things around the country. Oftentimes those things are subject to tariffs. Those have been some of the biggest market reactions higher. The upshot being that many of the people who invest in those companies believe that having some of these tariffs removed, although that is uncertain the extent to which that will maintain the case, having some of those tariffs removed will actually boost some of those businesses. Now, as many of your viewers saw, it remains to be seen the extent to which the president and the administration reinstitute some of those tariffs. But at least for now, there's at least something of a reprieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand why the market was pumping right after the decision dropped there on tariffs. But my question to you is, why was the market continuing to pump when President Trump was talking about maybe still putting out there a 10% tariff? Back in April, tariffs were, the bad word on Wall Street and was really dragging the market. And now as President Trump continues to talk about tariffs, it's pumping right now. Why so?
Well, if you rewind back to April, so-called Liberation Day, the tariffs as they were initially proposed were actually much higher than 10%, depending on whatever country was in question. Now, with the tariffs that President Trump has announced going forward, these Section 122 tariffs, those are tariffs that are authorized under powers that supposedly exist for 150 days at a time. So in theory, after 150 days, of these newly instituted 10% tariffs, Congress will have to reauthorize them. Now, it remains to be seen how that actually plays out in practice, but that at least sort of suggests that tariffs at 10%, that's the level that many people in the market can actually live with. Now, for individual businesses that actually rely on many of those imported goods for some of their input costs, maybe downstream steel producers, consumer products manufacturers, and so on, they will still be footing the bill for many of those tariffs, which ultimately boost prices for many of the products they need to build things.
Could it be now going forward, as we see what the Supreme Court did today, and now President Trump talking about still maybe doing tariffs? Is the market saying, oh, you know what? We just don't buy that President Trump can do this. So whatever he says, it could be any number. We don't buy it. Is that a possibility?
I mean, you mentioned Liberation Day last April. That was the big black swan event that everyone was fearing. Now, since then, the market reaction to subsequent bits of tariff news has really retreated over the course of time, given the level of uncertainty with which the White House announces these policies. It has taken one step forward and two steps back in some instances, has very much approached this in a start and stop way. The market has become much less reactive to each individual announcement over the course of time. So if they do have, as a rule of the road, let's say, the Supreme Court is saying this certain type of tariff is actually unconstitutional, President Trump goes on to reinstitute a 10% tariff, at least for 150 days going forward, that at least provides some semblance of stability for the market outlook ahead. And as I said before, a 10% tariff relative to what was initially announced last year, that's something that a lot of investors can ultimately live with.
There we go, David. Thanks so much for making sense of everything that happened. Now we'll wait and see what happens over the weekend, and we'll see what the market looks like starting on Monday. Big tech stocks are going to be starting to do their earnings. David, thanks so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, everyone. We are going to take a 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. Always great to be with you this afternoon. We're just getting started here for you on Live Now from Fox. We'll be back with more.